I'm Zachary Zahos, arts editor for the Cornell Daily Sun.
I'm Julia Moser, Sun staff writer.
And I'm Ariel Cruz, Sun staff writer. Today we're going to discuss some of the movies that were released this past weekend and preview those coming out this week. We're going to start with Wreck-It Ralph, Disney's new movie. It's an animated feature about a character named Ralph who is a bad guy in a video game and decides one day after he's excluded by the other characters in his game that he doesn't want to be a bad guy anymore. So this movie is about his journey to try to become more accepted in his game and the world that he lives in. And the voices are John C. Reilly, Sarah Silverman. We've got a couple of big people in there. And it really succeeds just because it's so, Disney was so meticulous putting it together. All of the different games that they've created have really specific theme songs and different kind of pixelations to show you how the different games were really from different eras. And it was cool how they did it, and it was a great film to go watch.
And they reference also like brand games like Mario and I see like even is there like a Halo reference in there? Like do they?
Right. Yeah, one of the movies is called one of the video games is called Hero's Duty, which is a direct reference to Call of Duty. And at one point there's like a party scene and there's a bartender that looks suspiciously like Skrillex with the hair like moved over. And I know there's a racing game that has kind of the very same Mario finish.
So it's like a pop culture potpourri almost, just like sort of throwing a lot of things in there. And
there's a lot to find in there. So.
And we saw Flight, which is starring Denzel Washington. It starts with a plane crash, there's a build up to the plane crash, but then the pilot Whip Whitaker, who is played by Washington, he saves almost everyone on board, saves 6 people, and the repercussions of that crash are visited, and it's due to his alcoholism, and it's actually quite serious. It doesn't really go into planes or flying, or the whole flight is more of a metaphor to whatever the alcohol and substance abuse allegories are trying to do in there. So.
Yeah, I talked to my pilot friend about it and said that there was nothing very pilotry about it, but
metaphors.
I mostly thought that it was essentially a remake of the movie When a Man Loves a Woman with Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan, because Andy Garcia is a pilot in the movie, but actually it's about Meg Ryan because she's an alcoholic and it's about her journey, and really because Flight had nothing to do with it. It was mostly
more similar there.
Yeah, I know your complaints aren't only just that it's a remake. You had some quite negative responses to some of the maybe thematic and almost political undertones, maybe.
Well, I did think that it was overacted in general, and also I objected to the fact that none of the women were very substantial characters. They all are referenced a lot, especially his ex-wife. She's talked about a lot in the movie, but we see very little of her. I think she has like 2 lines, and one of the flight attendants who dies, there's a completely gratuitous scene of her being naked, and I don't know.
The trailer actually sort of promises a very almost macho movie in a way, and it sort of is, although not in the action way, but it does promise sex and plane crashes, although I'm not saying it's a macho thing, but it's sort of an action look to it. And then it's the end result though is it's a melodrama. It's sort of almost a classic old school Douglas Sirk 1950s melodrama in a way, and that it has very well, I think, done in terms of directing, which is sort of what melodramas are known for. They're subtle touches here and there, and actually his plane crash was very well done. And I think we both agree with that. That's a very well done scene. It's also quite slow and sort of agonizing how it builds up. But the film itself, though, everything after that is basically about domestic issues,
And I especially thought that it had this great premise of the issue. He's a great pilot, but he's an alcoholic, and you could have had, and Don Cheadle plays this lawyer. You could have had a lot of really great ethical issues they were struggling with, and instead it was just really about drug dependency.
And for movies coming out this weekend, at Cinemapolis we have The Details, starring Tobey Maguire, and Detroitpia, a documentary about Detroit.
At Cornell Cinema we have Metropolis on Friday, and that is featuring the Alloy Orchestra, who scored the movie, the silent classic. And on Sunday is Dear Governor Cuomo, which is a documentary with the filmmaker visiting. His name is John Bowermaster.
And at Regal Cinemas, the big movie opening this weekend is Skyfall, the 23rd James Bond film starring Daniel Craig.
Thanks for watching. We hope to see you next week.